Well, hello. This is Chaplain Bill Ferris from the Axe facility in Easton, Maryland, called Bailey Chase, the great community we have here on the Eastern Shore. I'd like to share with you today a devotional based on Exodus 17, the water from the rock. In a big picture overview, is that the Israelite community has seen God do these global, international, forever history things, these huge things, the 10 plagues against all the gods of not just Egypt, but hopefully as an example of all the gods forever, of anybody that can think of. There are no other gods but the God of Israel. And then he brought them through the Red Sea and parted the sea and allowed them to cross on dry land, and then brought the sea back and took out all of Pharaoh and his army so that they could feel safe. So these are great, big, huge things. So God cares about great, big, huge things, but does God care about me and my food and my water? Because now they have freedom. They're out of slavery in Egypt, but they're in Saudi Arabia and it's 120 degrees and there's no food and no water. So hear what goes on and the grumbling and the whining and complaining from the people to Moses and to God, and how God answers that. Exodus 17, verse 1. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sin, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. And they camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." And Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" And that's interesting because in the last chapter was the chapter of manna and quail. And what was interesting is they had a different grumbling, a different word for that, that kind of meant obstinate and stuck in place and unmovable, or it's kind of corollary to a word later in Exodus, stiff-necked. But this word is to chide, to strive, to quarrel, to even pull somebody by the hair, interestingly enough. And what's interesting is God put the people to the test in the last chapter. And in this chapter with the water, Moses is saying, why do you put God to the test? Verse 3, but the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled, they chided, they strived, they pulled Moses' hair, so to speak, is what that word means. And they said, why do you bring us up out of Egypt and make us and our children and livestock die of thirst? Does God care about us, essentially? He brought us all the way here. Do you care about me? And then Moses cried out to the Lord, what am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me. And the Lord answered, and he said, go out in front of the people and take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. And I will stand there before you at the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink. So Moses did this in the sight of the elders, and he called the place Massah and Meribah, which are the words for testing and quarreling or striving or pulling out of hair. This what they were doing to Moses and to God. And because he named them, because the Israelites quarreled and because they tested the Lord, saying, is the Lord among us or not? And that's what they're really asking, right? God did these wonderful, powerful plagues and wonderful power opening the Red Sea and then closing the Red Sea. And he's brought us out of slavery and into freedom, but we're now in the desert and it's 120 degrees. And we don't have any water. We don't have any food. Will God care about our individual needs? Is he just the God of great big ideas, or is he my God? And isn't that the great story of when God speaks to Moses at the burning bush? He says, I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Essentially, the God that has promised to do these things. But when he brings them and gets them to Mount Sinai, he says, I am your God who brought you out of Egypt. And this is what God does for each and every one of us. He is my God. He is your God. He is our God, our Father. And he does care about our food and our water, our shelter, our health, our safety. Amen? Amen. Let's just see where the pause button